First of all, I like to. I'm incapable of speaking from while standing up, so I need to move all the time. So I like to invite my colleagues to come down. Thank you. I'll set a clock because I have a tendency to talk way beyond what I'm allowed to. I'd like to thank the organizers, even though they chose the title, and I must confess that when I read it, well, I always tend to say yes, but it remembered me an anecdote. There was a man that was an exam. His theme was the universe and related issues. So, well, you'll have 20 minutes for the exam. So I've consumed 1 minute. Pedro was a teacher of mine, and one of the most important things I'm going to learn is that the members of the jury wouldn't pay any attention beyond 15 minutes. So that's why they gave that man only 20 minutes to do his exam. Does it work? So I'm a scientist by career, so I have a deformation. I'm going to copy Pedro by writing quotes for common friends. This sentence, I'm going to speak about risks, limitations of technologies, and you can do it with a Mac. You write a photograph from Einstein and a sentence, and it seems that Einstein said it. It's not so clear. It seems rather that he didn't say that. So technologies can be tricky, and I like this sentence. If there is a complicated problem, as is given this talk, is looking. It's better. You're better off in looking and analyzing the problem instead of finding the solution. So we need to look for solutions. I'll go a step backward and analyze what's the problem. I'll try to define the problem. I hope this works. Therefore, the ICTs. Which ICTs? There are more than one. Talent. Are there more than one talent? We speak about talents in the plural. And why only potential of the ICTs? Why do we speak about potentials, which is something positive, and we don't tend to speak about limitations of mirage, which are negative? So I'll go backwards, step backwards, and even if we're in an environment of crisis, how can we overcome crisis? Which crisis? Well, let's define crisis. I like to include these graphics from the United States. In the upper line, we see the real GDP per capita in the last 40 years in the United States. Down in the dotted line, we see the median household incomes, and there is an increasing gap. In the last 40 years, we had Margaret Thatcher, Reagan, deregulation, globalization, and development of new technologies. And they were deeply interlinked. So there is a peak up there that corresponds to the crisis, but as a provocating hypothesis, tells us that the crisis has something to do what happened before. So we should look backwards and rethink what led us to this situation. What did we do with talent and with ICTs? Wall Street hired many computer technology-based talents, and we need to be careful with that perspective. That's the last time I'm going to quote Einstein, and this is a real quote. We can solve problems by using the same kind of thinking. Let's not use the same means, resources we used in the past. So in anything, in any environment, in any context, as in the use of ICTs. When I finished doing what I'm going to explain now, I did a kind of summary of how many things have to do with ICT's potentials, how many things, well, are a caveat, and which others could be different. As Einstein developed his talent in a time when there were no computer, no internet, I allowed myself to write this. So if you remember, I'll tell you what's the score at the end by applying this operation. Good. intelligence and related issues or matters. When I'm asked to speak about one of these topics, I always look up definitions, concepts in the dictionary. The Royal Academy speaks about talent as intelligence and aptitude, and I don't like it. I don't like those bad definitions. When looking for entrepreneurship, definition by the Royal Academy speaks about entrepreneurship as a danger. And me as a sociologist, well, it's a bad definition and it's risky. But why does the Royal Academy of Language speaks about dangers? It seems a bad perspective. So the Oxford Dictionary speaks about talent, defines talent as a natural skill, well, a skill, or DNA, or whatever it comes from. It speaks of talent as something natural, that is naturally given to us, and I like this one. And I especially like a definition by José Antonio Marina that speaks about an intelligent use of a resource. This resource can be a natural talent, a natural gift. Antonio Castelló spoke before about this. And this definition is cyclical because it speaks about intelligence. What does intelligence mean? It's not easy to define intelligence. One of the risks we run with ICT is to deform the concept of intelligence. I'll give you an example. How many intelligences can you see in this picture? Kasparov playing chess against Deep Blue, the IBM computer. So how many talents can you see in this scene, in this setting? Many people say there are two. There are a computer and a man, and a human. But on the right-hand side, we see one of the brains that built the Deep Blue. But I state, and to make it more controversial, that there is only one intelligence, that of Kasparov, and a competent machine to play chess. They use different ways of playing chess. The machine is not an intelligence. There is only one talent, that of Kasparov. There are talents that cannot be seen on the picture. The machine is not talented, has no talent, because one of the distinctive features of a talent is being able to build something that is unexpected. And this is completely different to competence. Being competent means being reliable, not making problems, doing what you should do. It's me, sorry. Talent surprises us. And if it sounds strange, let's think of a piano player. A competent piano player, it's on a bar corner, playing piano. We don't even... A talented piano player, Rubén González, a Cuban musician that died some years ago, he's really surprising. I have no time to play longer piece, but it surprises us. I mean, it runs unexpected paths. He's much more than competent. Of course, indeed, it's competence, but it goes beyond that. He spent his life doing musical scales, but it goes beyond. I read that the computer beats Kasparov. That's not true. Those that beat Kasparov were the ones that made that computer, not the computer itself. The computer wouldn't take the award when if a prize was given to him. So that deformation, the computer beats Kasparov, is a deformation of language, which I include in the risks column. Jaron Lanier is a controversial author, and that's why I selected him. We see that there is a trend from the ICT sector, from parts of the ICT sector, to lower expectations of men, to improve or to balance expectations from machines. I'll give a first example. How do we translate smart to inteligente, intelligent? Why do we equal smart and intelligent? If we look up in the dictionary, smart means attractive, clean. For instance, I came as wearing smart casual clothes. Nobody would understand and translate it as casually intelligent. So I'm using an iPhone. When I use these devices, these gadgets, they are smart, they are attractive, they are well done, they are competent, and they usually don't give us many surprises. I never use PowerPoint because it gives me too many surprises. But they are not intelligent, and I do not expect them to be intelligent. I want them to do what it's expected from them. So this translation, smart as intelligent, entails a risk. Google says that it aspires to find the ultimate search engine that is smarter than the people that use them. If this is smart advertising, I'd like to know why it works. If they really believe this, if it's not only advertising, if it's not only a slogan, I would be really, really concerned and preoccupied. If we had the whole world's information directly attached to your brain, we would be better, we would live better, we would be better off. I'm not at all convinced by this sentence. President of Google in Barcelona some years ago stated that mobile phones, made us cyborgs in the good sense of the word. I can't find a good sense of becoming a cyborg, so I'm really preoccupied. And the New York Times drew these vignettes some time ago, well, as a joke about that's the type of people we will become in the future, the Y generation, our children or our grandchildren. Should we be connected to all these devices? That's food for thought. Josh Lakoff from Berkeley, psychologist, wrote this title some time ago. I'm interested in the subtitle, Don't Think of an Elephant. Do not think about an elephant in the next 5 seconds, please. Anybody managed to do it? Everybody thinks of an elephant. Get to know your values and frame the debate. Frame the debate with language. So, when we think about intelligence, we need to think about the language we are using. For instance, there are several types of computers, laptops, tabletops, desktops. It works better in English than in Spanish. But we have somebody reading on a tabletop, less than 3 seconds to imagine that. If I spoke about a tabletop, would you imagine this picture? Probably not. Well, this is a picture from the Waldorf School at Silicon Valley, where people, executives, send their children to schools where there are no computers on purpose. They send their children to schools where there are no computers to make them think. And I'll, take positions. Google is the end of this adventure, this journey about concepts, about ICTs and intelligence. They have promoted these glasses with a visual to see the so-called augmented reality. And that's what they use. Welcome to a world through glass, through Google. So I'm asking, I would say that this is diminished reality because it's been filtered by Google. They call it augmented reality, but in my opinion, it's diminished reality because it's been filtered. And I will never use those glasses. First block, end of it. Trying to frame the problem, the debate. And secondly, not all talents are equal. There is a great movement in many countries trying to attract talents to STEM, science, technology, engineering, and art, mathematics. And Pedro was one of my teachers, my masters, and and I wouldn't say that this is not important. There are alternative points of view, complementary perspective. John Maeda is the dean of the design school at Rhode Island. These are not all the talents we should develop. He would add art to it, and art and not humanities, because if you use STEAM, A sounds better than STEM with an H. But we should read humanities. I mean, art and drawing, music, painting. So I defend that at schools, up to secondary school, we should have dance as a compulsory subject. I mean, drinking, dancing in couples, and I speak from experience. Apart from all my doctor, I have in my curriculum all the national titles, all the awards about dancing. And it was an incredible experience, learning the technique, dancing with a couple, and it makes you change because you have a better knowledge about your own body. So I would make dancing a compulsory subject for youngsters in many countries. So Richard Sennett, a recommendable sociologist, has a very interesting book about cooperation. And he's explained in his book his experiences about Google Wave. It seems that I'm not happy at all with Google, but that's the way it is. Google Wave was created to foster cooperation, and they used him and other people from arts and humanities to use Wave, and it didn't work. So he explains that engineers, confused communication and information. So it's not the same using communication and sharing information. There are differences. So that's the dramatic content of the program, of the computer program, was poor. The talent that was invested in Google Wave, in making Google Wave, which was a remarkable piece of software, that doesn't mean that it reaches its goal. What Sennett states is that engineers lacked perspective. The imagination of programmers was insufficient. So considering ICTs and talent, I can think about three different branches. The first one, unfortunately, I have no time to develop it, but I would love to elaborate on it. How to implement talent with the help of the ICTs. I never found any site, including the best business schools, where they explain entrepreneurs how to make a best and optimal use of ICTs. I don't know how to use PowerPoints, Word, etc. In some cases, they know how to use the social media. I don't know whether they can write an essay, taking notes, organize knowledge, etc. And this is due that there are so many skills that are out there available that is really important, difficult to. There are good courses about Gmail, but I'm not so sure that there are good courses about email. So it's especially recommendable not to read your emails in the first hour at work. It's better to start reading your email at 10 or 10:30. And if there is something urgent, let that person call you on the phone. So I'm not speaking about the second branch because I have no time either, about the talent focused on the ICTs industry so as to generate more tools, etc. That's good. We need to do that. But I focus about how to develop talent with the help of ICTs. So develop talent instead of implement talent, because they are two different things. I was asked to speak about the developing of talent. John Maeda goes in the same line, and he said that it's important not to make only technology. He comes from the world of design. Technology opens up possibilities, and design creates solutions. Those on the left-hand side, he speaks about art. That makes questions. Philosophy was about this in ancient times, when Peter spoke about this. He's a philosopher too, and leadership, if properly understood, makes actions. I was fascinated by this school because one of the key subjects is creative leadership, not the leadership of leading an army of commercials, of salespeople. Leadership is indispensable because otherwise they wouldn't manage the ego of physicians, etc. Well, I'll skip one slide. Well, challenges we are facing regarding talent. First of all, finding it and then developing it. 2 stages. I'll show you a video by this knight, by this sir. You've surely heard about him, Sir Ken Robinson. I'm sorry, but we are not getting the sounds to the booth. We cannot translate the video. Second, Robinson has one of the most watched videos on YouTube. He recently published a book about this topic, not only here in Catalonia, Navarra, Basque Country, and Spain. I speak about the world. Many people don't know what they are talented at, what type of talents they possess. They are completely ignorant about the talents. And the answer is a seed. We see the picture of a seed, which is not the same thing. But let's assume that we are looking at a seed or a sunflower. There is a great difference. Some of us look a potential sunflower there. Others would see only a seed. You eat it up and that's it. In order to find talents, we mathematicians love to look at extremes. So one extreme is introspection, silence. As Pedro stated before, we cannot imagine that person with the iPhone on her hand. We cannot imagine. We simply can't imagine her listening to music, just for a reason. We need to test up our talent out there, and the Internet gives up an important, a very wide map. This is a reflection of reality. This is not reality itself. It's been created by technology, and we need to, well, it's a pendulum. It's a way of reconciling both parts. So the Internet is just a reflection of reality. It has to do with reality, but it's not reality. If I had time, I would speak about Plato, but I have no time, so I'll show you this video. Sentimos no poder traducir el vídeo, pero no nos llega sonido a la cámara.
Nos reímos, pero
we laugh about that, but a baby has an experience in the world. And we've all seen a little boy, a little girl that goes to the television and touches something that doesn't work. A photo like this, at the extremes, we may be concerned that the baby is going to spoil the computer, or maybe the computer is going to spoil the baby. So a mixture of the two would maybe be a good thing. Lujan said that we shape our tools and our tools shape us. But isn't it true that we shape our tools, that all of us are shaping the tools? And these are shaped from specific places. There are more people creating them, but we must be careful because maybe the tools do shape us in a way that we don't want them to do. And I'm going to finish now. Maybe where I see that the ICTs can shape talent, it is at meetings, being able to see that other different things exist. And this picture sums it all up. You have a coffee at the Cavendish, and that's where creativity comes from. Maybe we could put internet in the middle, but it's not the same thing. Let's see what happens with Facebook. It's not the same. And apart from all of that, it uses up an awful lot of time. The average time people spend on Facebook, and compare this with Wikipedia, for example. So all the time spent on Facebook, it isn't either productive or creative, and it isn't spent on other things. It is useful. Facebook is useful, but it is useless for others. And apart from all of that, it commercializes or markets relationships, and I don't really know if that enters into the ethics in Facebook as well. It promotes mass behavior, how many people are following us, that sort of thing. And talent often is coming outside the circle. And the sociologists, somebody's mentioned before that individualism in network, connected, but each person being individual. And I often think that the interactive tools make us into passive. have you followed such and such a person? Have you been to see them? No, but I've sent them 2 emails, but I've not been to see them. I like this concept more. It's a school of the music band in San Andres, in Barcelona. Juancho, here, sung with children aged 9 and 10 who only play jazz. Do they use technologies? Yes, but they also use traditional things too. I heard him on YouTube, for example. So, but this is something else that Juancho does. This isn't creative. All these computers in the classroom, it isn't creative. And I am now between the Chaos Pilot, which forms alternative talent. This is a classroom of Chaos Pilot. They use computers, but what they're working on most is creativity, leadership, etc. And the computers are just instruments. They're not usually in the classroom. 2 final messages. One has to do with the question that was asked beforehand. Often we don't develop talent as it should. We often don't realize that we have talent. I used to study physics, for example. But maybe I have a little bit of talent to dance. Maybe at the age of 25 I would never have considered that. So there are different cycles in life. A physicist, a constructor. Compare this with Pedro. Maybe this person is competent, but they probably won't get a Nobel, won't be a Nobel Prize winner. But the talent, they didn't realize that that talent existed earlier on in life. I'm going to propose a good exercise that we can do at another time. This is very fashionable now. This is called the business model canvas. And it's a template if you want to change careers or develop, change, and you don't know what your vocation is, fill this in, and it tells you some things about who helps you, who you are, who you help, how you do it, what do you do, who helps you. How do you relate to people, suppliers, that sort of thing? It's not a trivial exercise. I did it over a few months, and I had Pedro as a coach. I would have liked to have done it myself, but maybe you think that you're 60 years old, you've got 2 PhDs, etc., etc. But it's difficult to do. You need a coach to help you do it. And how does it help us? In the first case, for example, who are we and what do we do? This is something where technology doesn't help us. You have to do it yourself. And the final question, final challenge is if you had to thank you to the organizers, by the way. If we had to advise something, is how do we change this survey? They asked people if they strongly agreed if their lives are determined by their own actions and not by others or by chance. So if you change this with the ICTs or not, that is the question. We could do this one by one, for example, but and the last point is related to society. As Bauman says, it forces us all to find biographical solutions to the contradictions of the system, the crisis, the mistrust of the politicians. And the previous example tells us that we are not well prepared to do this. I'm afraid I've gone over my time a little bit, but I'm sorry for that. But thank you very much for your attention.